Ba weep, Granagh weep, Nini, Bong. This is Transformers AutoBook Club, a weekly video and podcast series where I, and hopefully a guest, read, discuss, and deep dive into one issue of the Marvel Transformers comics. Just a quick note for anybody watching the video version. At the beginning here, before we start talking about the pages of the actual comic, there's going to be images on screen that are just relevant to whatever it is we're talking about. But later on, when we start discussing the actual comic itself, then you'll be able to see the artwork page by page as we go through. For our second episode, and to talk about issue number 2 with me, I asked the banjo to my kazooie, the Pinocchio to my Jiminy, and the hot sauce to my ranch, the Detroit Destructicon, Dan. Hello, Dan.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hello, love. How are you?
I'm doing well. It is hot in Sapporo. I don't have AC, so I'm dealing with that.
Oh no, you don't have AC at all?
At the moment, I do not. Summer's almost over, so yeah.
Yeah, dang. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I've actually never read any of the Marvel comics, so going back and reading some of this, oh my goodness.
Yeah, me either. It's my first time to read through them. I really wanted to after I got into like the current Transformers comic, but they were all out of print, so the timing was really nice that they managed to reprint all these. So if you joined us last time, and if you didn't, what are you doing? Start at issue 1, you lunatic. You might have heard mention of Dan. So last time I talked about how we both discovered that we knew about Transformers the movie and knew it super well. So we got very merry on very generous gin and tonics and watched it, singing along and quoting. So I asked Sai, who we watched the movie with last Christmas, what his favorite line from the movie was. But how about you? What's yours?
I think my favorite line is when Cup and Hot Rod are talking, and they're on the ship, and he's like, "Is there anything like this that you've ever been through before? Like, does this remind you of anything?" And Cup's like, "Nah, this definitely doesn't remind me of anything I've ever been through before." And it was like, it's just Cup has as like a hardened veteran warrior, and he's been through so much. He's seen so many things. He's like this is for all the marbles. Like this is it. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I was a kid. I was like probably like 2 years old when Transformers came out. Like to be a kid and watch it on a cassette tape constantly. Like because I love Transformers. I watched it all the time. My older brother introduced me to Transformers.
Okay.
And when he showed me this, like I'd never stopped to watch it. I would watch it at least like once a week as a kid. Like I was always watching it.
Yeah, you already know what my favorite line is. And I said in the last episode that I use that as a cheers now, that when you and I are drinking. Till all are one. Yeah. So that was my next question. How did you get to know the movie so well? And how did you get into Transformers in general? But you said your brother introduced you to it and then you just watched the tape over and over and over.
Like we had the actual cassette tape at home. I would just watch it all the time. It was my whole, like my venturing into giant robots and watching Gundam and Macross and everything like that. I started with Transformers and then it led into everything else. Even though we knew it was supposed to be like just to sell toys, like Hasbro was just trying to make money. But also at the same time, they helped birth a genre like stateside. Anime was not really that popular back in the day.
No, not in the 80s, for sure.
Like my sister told me, she was like, I went to the theater to go see this movie. And I was like, you went to the theater to watch Transformers? Oh, yeah.
You haven't read any of the Marvel comics, the same as me, but you were a big fan of IDW comics, right?
Oh, yeah. So Dreamwave had a stint, and it was a very, very, very long stint. And it was like, I want to say like probably like 10 to maybe like 15 years. And they reintroduced Transformers, and it was phenomenal. The colors were nice. The lines were sharp and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I've never been able to read any, but it looks gorgeous.
I had all those issues. Like I would go to the comic book store as much as I could, and I would buy comics as much as I can. I was reading Transformers. I was reading Conan at the time, and
I love Conan.
Also reading some X-Men and Spider-Man. Like Dreamwave, it's so good, and like the writing is really nice. They close up the story. I'm not gonna say it here because I don't want to spoil it.
So they actually finished, like it concluded?
Yeah, it concluded. It finished.
Oh wow, that's great.
Dreamwave did a really good job. I'm glad it has new reigns. Somebody else has it now. That's fine. But to give them that nice little footnote, like Dreamwave did a really good job on that series.
The Skybound started out by kickstarting G.I. Joe, and then they moved on to Transformers. So there's a bit of like speculation now that maybe around March next year they might do one for the IDW and Dreamwave stuff. So I really hope they do that because it would be great to be able to read Marvel and then go straight into the next huge long line of comics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we're way back at the beginning now. So there's one more thing I wanted to ask you. Do you have a favorite Transformer? And if you do, why did they become your favorite?
I have 3.
3? That's okay.
Ultra Magnus, Megatron.
Oh, really?
And I would have to say Optimus Prime. Honorable mention to Bumblebee. Honorable mention to Bumblebee because he becomes a Prime.
Oh, don't tell me that. I don't know that.
In one of the books. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. But Bumblebee's like one of my honorable mentions. And I love Starscream. Even though like he's always conniving and he's something like backhanded and dirty and something, like I love Starscream. Like I used to be able to do the voice for Starscream.
He has a crazy voice.
Right.
Actually, that's gonna come up later when we're reading the comic, where like the voices from the G1 cartoon are so good that you can read this and hear the voices in your mind. Like
You can hear it, exactly.
I didn't appreciate it the first time I watched it, but when I watched it through again, like recently, yeah, the voice cast is amazing. And it's like so many of them are the same voice actor too, doing different voices. They're incredible. Ultra Magnus is your number one favorite.
I think Ultra Magnus is my favorite from the Dreamwave stint because it's from the Dreamwave stint. He goes through this whole transformation.
Huh.
The reason why Megatron is my favorite is in different iterations, they've shown him as a miner. They've shown him as a warrior. They've shown him as all these different things. And the Dreamwave stint does that as really well too. Like they show him as a miner and he climbs up through the ranks. There's a version of him when he's a good guy. And there's a version of him when he's a bad guy. He's a tyrant. Like, so there are facets of him that can be explored. So, and of course, like, and all of course, like I think Peter Cullen made Optimus Prime my favorite person.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Optimus Prime is super kind when he doesn't have to be. Like you always tell me it's just like we just have to lead with kindness, and it's just like that's the point of like what Optimus is. Like Optimus is that beacon of hope, even in the darkest of times.
Oh, that's so nice.
Even in the newest comic I've been reading, like
he's so good in that.
He's so good. And the reflection happened when Megatron found the dead deer that Optimus Prime buried.
That was so messed up.
And he looked at it and he had that like that little moment of like they're so fragile and we can just like they can be smears at the bottom of our boots. Like I don't understand why Prime would do this. Like, I don't get it. He is that light. They all look to him. And like that's the one part of Prime, like that's the one big pinnacle part of Prime that I love. He's always trying to find the good in people, and everybody aspires to be him.
Aw, that's gonna come up later. Actually, there's a point in this comic where I noticed Prime was being like super nice, and you'll see it as we get to it later on. So speaking of, are you ready to roll out?
I'm ready to roll out. Let's go.
All right, let's open Transformers number 2, Power Play.
Okay.
All right, so right at the top, there's a recap of the last issue, which I'm sure you don't need, but I think it will be a good idea to recap really quickly each time. So I'll read what it says here. It says, 4 million years ago, they came from Cybertron, a world composed entirely of machinery, a world torn by an age-old war between the heroic Autobots and the evil Decepticons. These incredibly powerful living robots, capable of converting themselves into land and air vehicles, weapons, and other mechanical forms, continue their conflict here on Earth. They are the Transformers. So that's where things left off the last issue. And in the number 1, we had a few pages first before we got to the credits, but we're right into them this time. They're right down here at the bottom. So we got Bill Mantlo on the plot, Jim Salicrup on the script this time. We had Ralph Macchino for issue 1. Frank Springer is still on pencils. Kim DeMolder is on ink. Janice Chiang is on letters. Sheesh, we had 2 people doing the letters last time. This time, Janice just did it all solo. That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
And Nell Yomtov on colors. And then Bob Budiansky and Jim Shooter are the editor and editor-in-chief. So a couple of changes from last time. So yeah, right here on page 1, the Decepticons ran off out of the Ark once they were rebuilt and immediately started searching for a power source to use to charge up and to take the fight to the Autobots. Even though the numbers are heavily in favor of the Autobots, maybe they figure their weapons are powerful enough to make up for it?
Yeah. In other iterations, they would stay and they would fight. Right. And like sometimes they'd be like, all right, cool. Like, and like maybe they're like you said, like they were outmanned and outgunned. So they were like, we need to go.
Yeah, they just run away.
Like, we got to get up out of here now. And
the Decepticons don't have a base yet. So they're just kind of hanging out on this rock, checking out the power station. And Megatron says that it has the fuel that they need and that they need to go down there and take it. So it was hinted last issue that Starscream kind of often tries to contradict Megatron. And he does that here. He says that they should probably just send Buzzsaw down first to scout ahead. And Megatron notes that and he's really annoyed that Starscream is trying to undermine him again, but he begrudgingly thinks to himself that like the advice is actually pretty good. So I thought it was a nice touch that Megatron decides to follow his advice and send a scout, but he pulls rank a little bit because he sends Ravage instead of Buzzsaw.
He can't give him everything. Like
Yeah, I thought it was a nice counterattack. Like, oh shit, he's actually right, but I don't want him to be completely right. So
I'm gonna implement it my way.
And Starscream says, "As you wish, great Megatron." And I don't know about you, but I couldn't help but hear that in Starscream's like sarcastic voice from the cartoon.
It's like, as you wish, great Megatron.
Ravage sneaks in, and it mentions here how Ravage becomes totally invisible in shadow. And there's a worker there recording a progress report about the power station. It's not fully built yet, so he's like recording how things are going on his tape recorder. But he says that his tape's running out, and Ravage sees a chance to hop into the tape recorder and get some information. So he transforms into a tape and jumps into the guy's pouch so that the next tape the guy's going to grab is going to be him.
There's no way.
No. I know.
No way. And I get it. It's the 1980s or whatever, but holy moly donut shop.
Yeah, it's a little bit much.
Right.
So the guy puts him into the tape recorder and continues his report, which now Ravage is recording to take back to the Decepticons. And it's so funny. For some reason, the guy here gets a full name. So the text boxes tell us his name is Jason Boyd. But but he never comes up again, like, after this. So I don't know why they gave him a first name and a last name. Maybe he's going to be important later, and that's why he's getting a name now. But it stuck out to me as a weird time for, like, a first name, last name introduction. And I know it's in the show, too, and not just here, but it's not really important, you know, you just have to just go with it. But on page 1, Ravage is up to about knee height on the other Decepticons, and now he's transforming to be the same size as a regular cassette tape. That's just like physically impossible.
I'm like, where does it all go?
Yeah, there's no way. So the next page here has Ravage returning to the Decepticons, but it says hours later. But I think the standard cassette tape is like 90 minutes long, right?
Like maybe he just kept like transforming himself like in and out. Like he'll take out a tape, transform it, and he'll go back. Back into the tape deck or whatever.
Maybe he's got some really advanced like long play Decepticon technology going on. Ravage explains the energy harnessing human technology he found, but also that there are lots of strange life forms like the ones they saw in their battle at the drive-in. And there's a picture here of Prowl shooting Megatron like point blank in the face.
Right. In the face.
That's a new picture. It wasn't even in the last issue. That's pretty funny.
Like Prowl's like, I got something for you. It's like, it goes pew, pew, pew.
Right in the face. Point blank. Look, that's not even a meter away.
It's literally
in his face.
It's like his whole face. I'm like, oh my goodness. And Megatron just shrugs it off.
Yeah, he's like, oh.
Like, and he just oh.
So Megatron summarizes their current situation. They're stuck on Earth with the humans, and the machines they've seen on Earth were built by the humans and have no will of their own, which must be kind of weird for them to see, I guess. But he says that the humans have the technology to fuel them and that they need that to live. So we get to hear what Starscream is thinking now. And he says that Megatron is smart to have figured all this out, and that he can't let his desire to lead the Decepticons let him underestimate Megatron. And he's got a weird blue face situation going on here. And he's got big eyebrows too. I don't know if it's like a coloring mistake or if he was going to have a blue face in the early designs. Because the plans for all the toys and the cartoon appearances are still not finalized at this point. Which is, yeah, that's crazy thinking about it, because there's only a few months after this comic that go by, and then the cartoon starts airing. So they must have been cutting it pretty close, I think.
Right.
Megatron decides they need fuel and a base from which they can gather more fuel. So he orders the Decepticons to attack. And attack is in big purple letters. That looks really neat. Skywarp, Starscream, and Thundercracker transform, and Soundwave jumps into Thundercracker in cassette player form. Laserbeak and Buzzsaw join too, and at Megatron's command, they all head to the power station.
I didn't know that he had 2 birds.
Yeah, Buzzsaw is in the cartoon, but I guess not that much. Because I had to look that up myself.
I remember the bat. I don't remember Buzzsaw. That's what I was like, huh?
Same, yeah, I had to look it up. But there are some Transformers in the cartoon that like just pop in and out here and there. And like they'll be in an episode and then they won't be in it again for ages. So yeah, Buzzsaw is in the comic right here. And actually, so far in the comic, Buzzsaw and Ravage and Laserbeak haven't gone into Soundwave's chest yet. So they're kind of treating them as if they're like full like Decepticons on their own, which I don't think they are.
Exactly.
Actually, there are in just this one panel where all of them are transforming is pretty crazy. You have to remember, like, this is in the 80s, so there's no like digital art. This is all, someone had to hand draw all of this, which must have been such a pain. And the lettering too, actually, I mentioned it the last issue too. Like, I love comics in general anyway. Like, I know how important letterers are in comics, and it's really hard for me to appreciate them when, you know, there's like a a whole story that's been written and all this amazing art and all these colors. I know letters are so important, but it's hard for me to give them as much attention. But in this comic, there are so many text boxes and so much text. Somebody had to like put that there by hand. Like, that's insane.
That's a lot of work. That is a lot of work. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
And so last issue, there were 2 people on it, but this time there's just 1. So 1 person by hand put all these in. Like, it's insane. I don't know how they even did that. The text says that Laserbeak and Buzzsaw are in their Decepticon modes, which I guess means they're untransformed modes. I don't know. They keep going back and forth with these modes names. Megatron tells Thundercracker to let them hear his battle cry, and he lets out a sonic boom that it says is heard 100 miles away, which is like insane.
Yeah.
Anyone close by should at least be permanently deaf if their heads haven't like exploded completely. Like, what? 100 miles away, that's okay. And with that, they start their attack. So Starscream drops some cluster bombs, Thundercracker keeps laying out more audio attacks, and Skywarp uses machine gun fire. And then the second wave of Decepticons arrive, so Ravis jumps out of the shadows. In this panel, he looks massive, he looks gigantic.
I'm thinking that he can control his size. Like, there's just no way. Like, that's the only way I can like put it in my head. He looks so big in that panel.
Yeah, he's like at least the size of like 1.5 humans.
Right. And I'm like, the thing is like that poor person is like, nah. I'm like, yeah.
He's about to be dead. Yeah, that's terrifying. Buzzsaw bursts through a wall for like no reason, just decides to show us what they can do, I guess. And Frenzy jams a construction worker's walkie-talkie. So everyone gets a chance to show like what their abilities are, which I guess is their way of like introducing the characters.
Right.
Soundwave is getting orders from Megatron, who's hanging back and controlling the situation. Actually, this is a really good idea, and they never use this in the show. Megatron is always there, like, and things heat up, and then he makes everyone retreat usually. But this time, Megatron's like hanging back and he's watching everything from a distance, which is like actually a solid idea.
But like, because like you said, he's always in the fray, right? And then he gets hit one time. He's like, Decepticons retreat. I'm like,
every time.
Like, what are you doing?
And not just like, oh, I'm hurt, I'm gonna leave. No, everyone's leaving.
It's my party.
We're done. Megatron says they need the technology from the power plant, so Rumble shakes the ground to loosen everything so that Thundercracker and Starscream can transform along with the others and pick it all up and just run off into the night with it. So they stole the power plant, basically. So after that, we're catching up with the Witwikis. Sparkplug's son in the comic, he's named Buster, not Spike. He brought Bumblebee there after he was injured in last issue's brawl at the drive-in. So Bumblebee's like groaning and he's saying that he's going to die without help. And Sparkplug thinks that Buster is playing some kind of trick on him. And Buster says that he knows he sounds crazy, but the car is alive and he needs help. So Sparkplug says that he can take a joke, but this is kind of getting a bit much. And Buster persists and begs his dad to take a look at the car. So Sparkplug agrees and he starts to check the car over. And he finally asks where the car he lent Buster and his friends last night is, because he didn't come home with that car.
Right.
And Buster explains that he was rear-ended by the driverless Bumblebee and how 3 jets blew up the other car.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells Sparkplug about the cars that transformed into giant robots and they started fighting the jets. And while he's telling him about that, Sparkplug's kind of looking at the car and he finds like a leaky fuel line or something. So like at this point, he's really underreacting to this story and having found out that this other car got, blown up.
In total, exactly.
He's like, He's saying, it says there, he's like, And then finally Sparkplug like actually starts to react, a little bit more like you would expect and says like, I don't know what they put in that popcorn at the drive-in, but I hope it's not habit forming.
Right.
Long way of saying he doesn't believe the story. But Buster keeps pleading with him to fix Bumblebee. And then that's when Sparkplug starts to react a bit more. He says to Buster that this is just a car and that cars don't transform into robots, and especially one that's leaking oil.
Right.
And Buster says, that's not oil, it's blood. And Sparkplug says, I don't know what's got into you, but it looks like the only way I'll get some sleep around here is to fix that blasted car. So Buster thanks him and Sparkplug starts to look at the underside of Bumblebee properly. And quickly he sees it's not like a regular car. Whatever's underneath Bumblebee, it's not, I don't know if it's a big pair of balls or what, but it's not a regular car. So hours later, he says that all he could do was fix the fuel line and tune up some parts. And last issue, I was saying how like feeble they made Bumblebee look because he like rear ends Buster, but you don't really see him get injured in the fight. Yeah. So it's like, was that the thing that made him almost die? Like just crashing into another car, or does he get shot by like a stray laser or something?
Like,
yeah.
But there's in the panel, why does he look like he's about to attack his dad?
Oh, you're right. He looks like he's about to do like a chop on him or something. What's that arm? Yeah, what's he doing with his arms there?
Like he's like, oh yeah, you're not gonna listen to me? Karate chop. Like it's like,
Yeah, you're right. That's a weird pose.
right. It's a weird pose.
Actually, speaking of the panel underneath that, there's a Sparkplug looking at the underside of the car, and his mouth's open, like he's gonna like lick the oil out. Like,
Right.
what are you doing? The way he's leaking fluid and saying he's gonna die, it's like that fuel line was like a major artery or something, maybe. I don't know. But Sparkplug managed to fix it up, and he says that he's never seen a car like this one. And Buster turns to look at Bumblebee, who starts to make some clanking noises, and Sparkplug says, "What the?" And then the background of the panels turned red, which is like a neat detail.
Right.
So Bumblebee transforms, and finally Sparkplug gets to see that Buster was telling the truth. But understandably, he's still really shocked and surprised, and he says, "It's alive!" And Bumblebee says that that's thanks to him, and that he's as good a mechanic as his friend Ratchet. Sparkplug says, "You mean there are others like you?" And Buster says, "I told you about the battle." Sparkplug asks who Bumblebee is, and he replies that his code name is Bumblebee, which means that that's not his actual name. So I wonder what the Transformers' original names were, and who came up with all the code names and why they picked what they did.
I think it was like
I don't get-
B128. Remember in
Oh, Transformers 1.
yeah,
Yeah, they do have.
like B128.
Oh, that's true. Maybe they just have like serial numbers. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Bumblebee explains that the Transformers are from Cybertron and that they need fuel, and Sparkplug offers some gasoline. But Buster points out that Transformers probably don't run on premium unleaded, and Bumblebee says that maybe Huffer can come up with some kind of conversion process. And for some reason, Sparkplug says, "Oh, I can do that." Like, I don't know. I feel like that's just a really bold claim, considering he only learned that Transformers existed about 2 sentences ago. He's like, "Yeah, I can make petrol work in your body. That's fine."
I can make Energon. Yeah, no worries. I can do that.
Yeah,
I
like
can make Energon.
he doesn't even know what that is.
Right, exactly. Like, how do you what?
So either like he's some kind of engineering savant, or he's like just extremely self-confident. I don't know. No. I want to add, like, at this point, like, we're both ragging on it a bit and making fun of it in places, but like I'm really enjoying reading these comics, and I think it's important to make it clear early on that I think these are great fun to read, but I'm not gonna like ignore the flaws and pretend that they're perfect.
Exactly.
So I think it's possible to love something and think it's really wonky, and then like even still love that it's wonky too.
They thought this was okay back in the day, and they talk about, oh, like the 80s was so cool. And and I'm just like,
That's true. The amount of 80s movies that you can go back and watch, and they're like just nonsense or like such a mess. It doesn't stop them being really fun, but they
Right.
can at least, acknowledge that they're not great.
it's like prime example. It's like watching like Masters of the Universe, or you're like watching a Flash Gordon. Like
Flash Gordon for me, yeah, I love Flash Gordon.
we know those movies are like wonky and funny, but they still hold,
They're still so much fun, yeah.
and they're still so much fun to like watch. Like they hold through the test of time, and I'm like, that's the point.
And on the other hand, I've been putting out the parts that really stand out to me as well done or clever too. I like Megatron's really subtle counterattack to Starscream being underhanded. So like I kind of hope I can stay balanced like that for the entire series, because I think there's going to be plenty of jank. And I think like this original comic is really famous for like having done the most interesting lore and like the coolest stories with Transformers. So I'm really excited to see those things come up. But for right now, in the beginning, there's a lot of goofiness going on, and I enjoy that too. So yeah, I'm poking fun at it, but I'm never going to be just negative about it for no reason or tear it down. That's not me, and that's not really fun or interesting, I don't think.
Exactly.
Anyway, so our super genius mechanic asks where the rest of the Autobots are, and Bumblebee says that they're probably back at the Ark. So Buster says he'd love to go see a spaceship, and Bumblebee says, "Okay, hop in." So they go off to go find the other Autobots. Bumblebee says that he'll deliver the offer of fuel conversion to Prime. On the way back to the Ark, he explains the Cybertronian War and the Transformers' arrival on Earth to Buster, and it really made me laugh because Buster learns about like all this. He learns about intelligent life on another planet, and it's here on Earth, and they're all sentient transforming robots. And his reply to all of that is, "Wow." And that's it. That's it. That was so funny to me.
Wow.
That's all. Wow. And then right after that, a bunch of coincidences happen at once. This is pretty contrived, but okay. Ravage just changed size again, and he's stalking around in the city, and he comes upon and recognizes Jesse and O, who are Buster's friends. So he like recognizes them as being the people who are friends with the person who made contact with Bumblebee. So, that whole fight was going on, but he took notice of this. And O just happens to be carrying a boombox. And there's a cool little name drop here, actually. On the radio, the announcer says that the song that just finished playing was by Dazzler.
Mhm.
So there was a cool little bit of the Marvel universe making its way into this comic, which I thought was really neat.
A little sprinkle here, a little sprinkle there. Perfect.
Right. So that confirms at one point Transformers and like the rest of the Marvel universe existed in the same place.
In the same place. Yep. And that's
Cool.
and
That
that's
must not have lasted long. Thanks to that boombox that O happens to be holding, Ravage is able to transform and jump into the cassette deck. Another thing here about this, like when you put a cassette in the cassette player, you have to press the eject button
exactly
to open it, right?
right.
So I don't know, Ravage, can he just like use his jump to transform? Because he like runs, jumps, and transforms, and somehow he's able to like perfectly control his descent so he can go into the cassette deck, which is impressive because you can't always even get it in right the first time. Sometimes you get it in wonky and you have to like take it back out and twist it and put it back. But like, what? Can he use that jump to like bonk the eject button first and then bounce back and go in? Like it's another one of those things. It doesn't make sense and you have to roll with it. And in the grand scheme of this massive story about intergalactic talking robots,
Right.
like maybe you just have to go with things sometimes. But
Here's another thing that actually got me like remiss about some things or whatever, right? So Ravage is talking.
Yes, yeah, he can in this.
Like in this,
I don't know if that continues for the whole series, but the first 1 and 2, he is talking or thinking.
That's pretty crazy. I was just like, because Ravage, Ravage doesn't talk like the others.
Just
do.
like
Yeah, exactly right. As it's probably like some type of like sound wave, like he like like it's like he probably
yeah,
has
maybe
noise. And he probably like, of course, Soundwave can listen to him. I always wanted this like to see or hear Ravage talk, like just to be like even if it was like little small words that it could say or whatever. And like
I like it too. So I kind of hope it stays that way through the rest of the comic, but I don't know. After issue 4 is when things will be really set, I think, because right now everything's all mushy and loose.
Because it's the same thing with like Laserbeak. Laserbeak can't talk, but Laserbeak records and shows everything or whatever. So I'm like, okay.
So so he manages to get inside the boombox just as Buster drives by in Bumblebee and spots them. So like he's driving down the street in the car and then just like sees his friends and he's like, oh, and like stop. Like I don't know. I don't drive, so I'm not sure, but that feels a little bit like convenient to me.
Like just to be like at the right place at the right time. It's like
just driving along in your car, paying enough attention to the pedestrians that you recognize 2 of them and stop. I don't know. Does that happen? Maybe it happens.
Well, sometimes of like if you're like
depends how fast he's going, right?
Then like he's in traffic.
Yeah, maybe he stopped. Maybe there's a traffic light that's out of panel or something. Anyway, so it's all very convenient. Everybody's in the same place. And O tells Buster that the jets from the drive-in have attacked the nuclear plant. And Bumblebee asks what the nuclear plant is. And Buster explains that it's a source of energy. Bumblebee says that they can't let the Decepticons have it, and that Sparkplug needs to hurry up and come up with a way to convert energy for Autobots. But like just before that, Bumblebee's asking a question about the power plant. And O just says, oh, Jess, Buster's car just talked. And she says, I noticed. And that's it. That's the extent of their reaction to that. Everyone's so chill.
Everybody's like, oh, okay, that's cool. What? Like, it just talks. Like
Bumblebee also says that he has less energy currently than he thought he did, so they should go back to Sparkplug's garage. And Buster really briefly explains the Autobot and energy situation to his friends, and O says, it's too late to get on That's Incredible. It's cancelled. I read that a few times over because I was totally lost there. I didn't know what that meant. But luckily, the Transformers wiki helped me out. It's referencing an American TV show, which was real in real life and got cancelled in 1984 when this came out. So they're referencing like a real world TV show that got cancelled.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ravage has been recording this whole conversation, and he gets out of the tape deck to go and deliver what he overheard about Sparkplug's energy conversion plans to Megatron. Back at the Ark, Teletran 1 confirms that their energy reserves are low, and because of that, they're really vulnerable right now to a Decepticon attack. So the Autobots have a bit of a debate here, which I really like, actually. They need fuel, and Mirage says that they should just go out and take it, but Prowl says no, this planet's life forms have a right to their own resources, and then Prime decides that they should establish contact with the humans, ally with them, and then barter for resources fairly. So there's like a lot of character building happening in like just this one panel. It shows that Prowl and Prime are the leaders, and they're a bit more thoughtful than some of the others. And Prime calls the shots, but the way he says, like, fear not, fellow Autobots, it sounds like Prime from the cartoon.
Right.
He's like in charge, and he's making decisions, but he's not being demanding or like dictating. He comes off like really kind, but in control. I like that a lot about him as a leader.
Right. There's this one part where like at the bottom where they were discussing everything. I never thought I would hear Prowl say this. And like maybe it was just the way they were writing it. It says, "Bah, the Decepticons will not pander to this world's populace. They will simply seize what they need. Perhaps Mirage is on the wrong side." I'm like, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. Right after Prime like lays out the plan of action, he takes like a final vote and he says, if anyone has a problem with this plan, like, you let me know now. So he's being really democratic. But then, yeah, Mirage doesn't say anything, but in that thought bubble, like he said,
That's like, that was a thought bubble too. I'm just like, yo, homie.
like, maybe I'm on the wrong side of this war because the Decepticons are not going to deal with this nonsense. They're just going to go get what they want. And in the close-up here at the bottom, you can see they've changed Prime's eyes. In the first issue, they were these like giant downward-pointing triangles. They made him look really upset and sad all the time. They've changed them to be a bit closer to the ones he has in the show now. Just then, Hound gets an emergency broadcast on the Autobot distress frequency from Bumblebee, who's, if you look closely, his name is spelled Bumblebee down here.
Bumblebee.
Prime speech bubble, yeah. I think so. What happened was IDW a long time ago tried to recolor this and like touch it up, and it's messed up some of the lettering, I think. So I think the letterer originally did a good job, but whatever they did, I don't know how they updated it, but it's mangled some of the letters in the first issue and in this one as well.
I was gonna talk about that actually because like some of the words, I'm like, what? Like, did they like intentionally misspell that or something? I was just like, what? Why is this misspelled? Like, why? What is this?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it'll get changed properly before they print these. Bumblebee and Sparkplug have made a communicator from spare parts, and Bumblebee tells them about the Decepticons having acquired a lot of power. And he says that they need to find their own fuel source and that he's found someone who can help them convert that fuel into usable energy. But all this time, I guess they're assuming that the Decepticons have a way to use the energy because they're really panicking that the Decepticons have found it. But they don't have a way to use it themselves. I guess they just figure the Decepticons do have a way to do it. I don't know.
I think it's like a basically like, oh, well, first come, first serve. Whoever gets there first. Like,
And that's true.
they don't know what the other side is doing.
Right. Yeah. And if they're going to convert it, I guess it makes sense that the other side would do the same thing. The Autobots are going to follow the signal and head to Sparkplug's. I'm British, so I say garage, but you say garage, right?
Yeah, garage.
Workshop. Sparkplug's workshop. Prime says Autobots convert to Earth modes. And earlier on, we had mention of Decepticon modes too, so it looks like they're still trying to figure out what to call each mode.
Right.
Anyway, the Autobots roll out and they leave Ratchet behind to continue repairs on the Ark. The Decepticons use the parts of the power plant that they stole to make this like base on a cliff, which is similar to in issue 1, how they had like Castle Decepticon on Cybertron.
Yeah.
Now they've made like Castle Decepticon on Earth or whatever. Ravage relays his information to Megatron, whose eyes have also changed now. I liked his big bug eyes in the first issue, but they're like his final ones now. Megatron says that they need to capture the human and force him to convert the energy for them, or else they're going to kill him. So it seems like nobody has a way to make the energy usable yet.
Right.
But I guess it wasn't a bad assumption on the Autobots' part that the Decepticons have a way to use the energy they stole. The Decepticons transform and launch, though all they have is Sparkplug's name to go on.
Right.
I guess from the air they can like spot the Autobot convoy, but they don't even know that the Autobots are going anywhere, right? So I don't know.
I don't even know the person. So like, how?
Right. I mean, they could trace the signal the same way that the Autobots did, but they don't bring that up. So we can make that like, what do they call that, headcanon?
Right.
They picked up the signal and they used that to find where they are. Anyway, when the Autobots pull up to the garage, some of Sparkplug's neighbors, Mitchell and Doris, notice that there are driverless cars like pulling up to Sparkplug's place. And they guess that Sparkplug's working on some kind of remote control vehicle.
He says it so nice that he's like, oh, like Sparky probably developed some kind of remote control device deal. I've never seen his yard quite so busy before.
Yeah, I like that they're giving everybody a name.
Right.
Doris looks like she gets in everybody's business, doesn't she?
That's a Karen. That's a Karen thing there. I ain't never seen one. That is a Karen. That is a Karen. Look at her. She's pointing her finger. She's like, look at those little ruffians.
These cars don't have any drivers in them, Mitchell. She don't like that.
No, she don't like that at all.
So everybody arrives and Bumblebee introduces them. Prime transforms and Sparkplug and Buster are surprised by how much bigger he is than Bumblebee. And Prime says, I believe Bumblebee has informed you of our vital fuel needs. And Sparkplug says that he's happy to help. And already the Decepticons have tracked them and found them, so they converge to attack. So like within the time it took Doris and Mitchell to have that conversation, they've got from Castle Decepticon to wherever everybody is right now.
They're fast. They are.
They can fly. They are fast.
Right.
But that's really fast.
They are space robots. So like, they can up to do way crazier things.
Space and time.
Space and time robots. Yes, exactly. Like, so they could probably do whatever they want.
Great.
The one thing that gets me though is the whole thing about the deafening sonic boom.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm like, suddenly the deafening sound of a sonic boom fills the air. And I'm like, your ears should be bleeding.
Right.
Like it's something happening.
Yeah, that's what it says here. Suddenly, the deafening sound of a sonic boom fills the air, followed by the streaking sight of 3 F-15 jet fighters swooping down. So yeah, the Decepticons are here.
Right.
And this is another thing I really like about Prime. He says here, like, Decepticons attack, Autobots prepare to defend this position. And right away on the next page, the first thing that Prime does, the first order he gives in this battle is for Bumblebee to shield the humans and not let anybody get hurt. That's the first thing he thinks of. I really like that. It might not have been intentional to, like, build his character, but it does totally do that for me. Like,
Right.
the first shots have been fired and he's like, quick, save everybody. Like, that's awesome.
Well, that's the thing of like a good leader. I think like a good leader, like to protect the innocent. We don't want them to be a part of this, and we really don't.
Yeah, I really, really like that. I appreciated that. So the second the battle starts, Prime is looking out for the humans, and they go and hide in like an old junked car, which at this point, like, the Autobots like are cars, right? So this is like a skeleton. Like, this is like sending someone to hide in like an old ribcage or something. It's really weird. Sunstreaker and Sideswipe join the battle, and they banter about their weapons and their abilities so that, I guess, the reader gets an idea of what they can do. Sunstreaker has his electron pulse gun, and Sideswipe has a rocket backpack, so he's one of the few Autobots who can fly, actually. Sideswipe uses his flare gun to blind Thundercracker, who says, "Aye!" which is like a really common, like, strange sound effect that gets used throughout Marvel comics. Like, even comics that are coming out now, they still have "aye" in them. I think it's meant to just be a scream, but the way it's spelled always just looks like "aye" to me, which I've never heard anyone say in real life. Skywarp and Starscream land and transform, and they reused this panel from earlier here. They colored it differently, but this is the same artwork they used earlier. But like, that's fair.
If it's not broken, don't fix it, basically.
Right.
So
Optimus shoots Laserbeak, who also says "aye," but Prime says, Prime says, "The humans shall not be taken, so swears Optimus." And that's like a really fun, if clunky line to throw in, because it's like in so many of the older Marvel comics, they have these big grandiose statements like that end with "so says" or "so speaks," "so swears," and then they have the character's name there.
"Oh, swear, Doctor Strange."
Yeah, they did that stuff all the time, so I really liked that it made its way into this.
I'm surprised Stan Lee didn't have anything to do with this.
Yeah, maybe they were just fans, I guess. Doris and Mitchell are running away there in the background too. You can see them like running away, and somebody says, Mitchell says, "Run for your lives." So says Mitchell. It's just funny to me that they got names. It makes me wonder if they'll come back again. Are we gonna get to see like Doris's arc? Like, what's next for her?
Oh man, she's gonna sue them.
Yeah, I feel like she'd start leading like an anti-Transformer movement or something.
Yeah, like anti-Transformer movement
with like signs and.
"We don't want you clinkers around our neighborhood."
You're one of those clankers. Oh no. So the battle continues, and Mirage thinks about how he'd rather be back on Cybertron. So I wonder if they're setting Mirage up to be a bit disloyal as the series grows on.
Yeah.
No, at this point though, it was still due to end in 2 issues. So like, I don't know.
We'll see.
Another of the Witwicky's neighbors calls the police, who arrive. They take one look at what's going on, and they say like, "No, we should just leave this to the army. We can't do this." I thought it was neat that they bothered to like put that detail in, because if that happened, yeah, you would call the police, I guess.
Yeah, I would. Call the National Guard. Call somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a 20-foot robot on, like, fighting another robot, and they are literally destroying my grass that I just paid to get cut. Oh no.
Jesse and O are there. Also, they're hiding behind a corner and just watching everything go down. And then Ravage like pounces on Mirage, who's distracted, thinking about Cybertron. Then Brawn comes in with the assist. And since the Decepticons look like they're losing, Sparkplug and Buster come out of hiding. And that's right when Megatron shows up. And poor Bumblebee.
He got the thud.
Yep. Megatron shows up and he knocks Bumblebee out with one like chest blow. So poor Bumblebee, like 2 issues in a row, he just takes one ding and then he's out.
Sorry, ouchie.
Somehow Megatron knows who Sparkplug is and that he's the one that's going to start converting the energy, which, by the way, thus far is all talk and theory. He hasn't made any progress.
Nothing.
Or started on this at all yet.
None.
Nothing.
None.
So Megatron grabs him anyway, and Buster screams out for help with "help" in big red letters. And I talked earlier about the G1 voice cast before. Spike,
right?
Not Buster, but Spike Buster, has some really good lungs on him in that show. He screams all the time. And he sounds so desperate and ragged every time.
Prime, help!
I can't do it. It's like, help! He has a really like piercing scream. It's really good.
Right.
But yeah, like I was saying before, I can just hear that in my mind, like perfectly how it would sound in the show.
Optimus Prime does the Japanese thing.
Yeah, Optimus Prime here is so he turns around looking really sultry, like, oh, what's going on over there? So Prime hears, not Spike, Buster shouting, and he runs over to confront Megatron, who blasts at him with his cannon. But either the blast or the distraction from Optimus allows Sparkplug to escape Megatron's grip. Megatron defends himself from Prime's answering shot by defending himself with a scrap car. And he has some cool lines here, though. After 4 million years, you haven't changed, you still fight with your mouth. And then he throws the car at Optimus, and he says, perhaps this will halt your endless prattling. It's perfect. It sounds just like something that G1 Megatron would say.
Right.
I actually checked the writer of this issue, like I googled him up, Jim Salicrup, to see if he wrote for G1 because it sounds so much like something Megatron would say to me. But he didn't, so I don't know, it's just a coincidence, but it does really sound like Megatron to me. So Prime picks up like an entire engine block and retaliates by just like throwing it straight at Megatron's head, and even bounces up. That's like in gym class where you got hit with the dodgeball. Like,
Clong. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's that ringer.
Yeah, look, Megatron's falling back, like it knocked him over.
Right.
And you can see in the background, Sparkplug and Buster are scrabbling around there. And ominously, right in the background, there's Starscream. Megatron tells Prime that he wants to take control of the Earth. Again, taking over an entire planet. Always taking over a planet with this guy. Before he wanted to take over Cybertron and use that as a dreadnought, which is like, that's awesome. That's an insane idea, but that's so cool.
See, but here's the thing, okay? Remember in issue 1 when they went to go destroy the asteroid field or whatever? I was like, okay, first of all, you people are getting tired from shooting
Yeah,
from the ship.
from inside the ship. It's exhausting.
There was a couple on top of it. But I'm like, that really made you tired by clicking a trigger to shoot something? Like, really?
Yes.
And so that happens, right? And then on top of that, like, why didn't they just move Cybertron?
Cybertron was already moving at that point. Cybertron...
Right, but see, what I was thinking is, it's like, can it be controlled?
Oh.
Like, that's what it's like, you can move it. Like, if it's going towards something, why can't we just go?
Yeah, I wonder if they had the time to build a booster big enough to like move it out of the way. Because Megatron did say he wants to use the planet to settle. So either it can be moved or he was planning to build something that would have moved it. I guess just for the sake of making it make sense, there wasn't enough time. Another way. So yeah, he wants to use the Earth to launch an invasion of Cybertron, which they don't know if still exists or not. Like, it was hurtling through space. It might have smashed into something by now, but we'll find out, I guess. Starscream grabs hold of Sparkplug and transforms into jet mode and takes him off with him. And then noticing that, Megatron says that he has what he came for, and he orders a complete Decepticon retreat, which is Megatron style. Buster tells Optimus that they have his dad and that they need to chase after them, and Prime agrees but says it's going to be impossible because they're all so low on energy. And that's where the issue ends. What's going to happen to Sparkplug? Especially when the Decepticons find out he has no knowledge of Transformer biology, no research, no plans. And how are the Autobots going to refuel? I actually really don't know what's going to happen from here because they're just stuck.
Basically.
Oh, wait, they left Ratchet behind, didn't they? Ratchet's going to come save the day, probably.
I think my favorite line is Megatron surrender the human or suffer the consequences. In a word, Optimus, no.
No. That's payback. He got shot straight in the face last time. Now it's his turn.
Yeah, exactly. He did. He threw that thing pretty hard.
Right over his head.
I do love that line, though. He was like, 1 million years, you still fight with your mouth. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I was like, we're slinging around words here, huh? Why do I persist in trying to reason with you when the only language you understand is violence?
Is violence, engine block to the face. We did it. So yeah, what did you think of the second issue of Transformers, Dan?
Okay, it was really funny. It was like the whole thing was crazy. It's like, it's a fun trip because it's like they fit all the art in those little, like the little lines on the comic strip or whatever. It's like they're all cut in diagonal ways and because it's trying to get a point of what's going on. And I love that. Like, I think that's pretty cool. It's stylized. It's fun. And then Like, there we go again with, like, Ravage just jumping into the jets along with Megatron. Why did Megatron gun? Why didn't he just run away? Like, and then, like, this whole refueling thing, I'm like, you guys decided, okay, you guys were ambushed, which is true. You guys were ambushed. I'm like, but you guys didn't think to, like, end this as soon as possible. Like, like, your energy reserves are. Why are you still fighting? Like, I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's also true. It was a bad decision to all go there.
Yeah, exactly. Because remember, Bumblebee said he was like, "Oh well, I thought I was okay, but I'm not. Like I'm not. Like
Yeah.
your reserves are low, so that's probably so that's why he made the call."
And maybe, I don't know, the new forms are different. They use power differently or something.
I said, like, I do hope that, like, when they start talking about this energy source, they're talking about Energon eventually. Like,
Yeah, it must be, right?
yeah,
And then in the show, it was always that I can't remember the Autobots ever really doing much with Energon. It was always like the Decepticons want to get it, and then Soundwave would make the cubes from his chest,
yeah,
and they'd like just pour oil into it, and it would turn into like
Energon,
magically rainbow sparklies.
yeah, rainbow sparklers.
Yeah, I think the Autobots must have used Energon, but they never really went into it as much. They never went to go get it. So I don't know what they were doing for power. Maybe they'll explain that more next time.
It was a good read. It was definitely a good read. I've read some bad comics in my day, and this by far not the worst, like, at all. Like, this is pretty good.
Yeah, I was really impressed with, like, as many times as it made me laugh at silly things, I was really impressed a couple of times with it too. I was really impressed with that one big panel of the debate, because I really learned a lot about the characters and their personalities from that. I don't know if that, was the intention, but it really helped me.
It still makes it seem like, Mirage is probably gonna turn, which
Yeah.
is, like, I never knew was a thing because Mirage always been an Autobot. And I'm like, "Oh, wow," like, yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just like, that's interesting, like, that, like and that's the best part about reading these books is, like, it's always, like, way new to find out,
Yeah.
or where they were trying to take the characters or whatever back in the day.
Yeah, especially later on. Like I said before, I haven't read these, but Simon Furman is a writer that's really famous for like adding so much to the lore, making it so much more adult later on.
Okay.
So now it's goofy and fun, but I think it's going to get heavier later.
Got it. Yeah, because it's like even like the Transformers series, it kind of got heavy here and there, but it was like, of course, they didn't like do anything too crazy. But then there's this whole thing like, in issue 1 when Prime was like, "Oh, like the Decepticons are attacking. We're gonna crash land the Arctic
Yeah.
planet," and everything else is just like, "Oh, well, we'll just be dust." I'm like, excuse me." Like, first of all, I didn't sign up for that. Second, no.
Yeah, it's like, that's it. That's all we can do. Just crash.
And, like, that's the one thing I didn't really care for because I'm thinking to myself, like, that doesn't sound like Prime at all. Like, Prime wouldn't
I
like
agree, but he did say that he wanted to do it because the Decepticons were aboard the ship and he would take them out too.
that's true.
So I can see him doing that maybe as a last resort if it meant getting rid of some Decepticons. But yeah, like last lap.
Like, that's like the last thing. I'm like, they didn't even put up like, I know they were overwhelmed. They didn't even put up a fight, but that's why I'm like
They're too tired from the space lasers. I liked all the little Marvel references that were in this one. There weren't any in the first one that I noticed, but there's quite a few in this one. And there's so much text in these comics. And like I said earlier, I'm a big
Yeah.
comics fan and struggle to appreciate letterers. I know I should more, but I'm really blown away with how much work they must have had to do to put all of this text into this comic in the 80s without computers. I'm a big fan of all the pastel colors they use too. Like
Yeah.
the Autobots' bodies are all super bright, like vivid colors, but then the backgrounds are still bright, but they don't clash because they're all pastel-y. I really like that.
Color theory.
Yeah. I don't know nothing about it, but it's working for me.
Good. Yeah.
And I hope we hear more from Jason Boyd, Doris, and Mitchell. Maybe they'll be in some kind of love triangle or something. That would be great. I'll be really surprised if we hear from them again, but
They have to make it back through, man. Like, they have
I hope so. Major character like Jason Boyd. You don't just throw that away.
I'm rooting for them. You can't just throw it away. You can't like sling out names.
Right? I just want Doris to live her best life.
Her best Karen life, going to Walmart
Yeah.
and disrupting people. Like,
And that's it. We're finished for this time.
that was awesome.
Oh, good. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. I don't know why you were so nervous.
I don't know either. So that's our episode for today. So what's up next? Big shocker, we'll be reading issue 3, which is titled Prisoner of War. I'm aiming to have episodes out on Saturday mornings if you're in EST or PST time zones, which means if you want to read this issue first, you've got the whole week to do that. I'd love to have another guest on to talk about the issue with me, so if that's something you'd like to do, you can contact me on the Discord, which I'll link in the episode notes or the video description, or you can email me. The email address is transformersautobookclub@gmail.com. I'd love to create a community with this, so if you'd like to support the show and help it grow, I'd be so grateful if you could share it with any of your friends who are Transformers fans, and you can also support the show by doing all the usual things, giving the video a like, a comment, and by subscribing to the YouTube channel. And podcast listeners, you can give the show a rating on your platform of choice. Thank you so much for joining us, and until we run into each other again, take care, be kind, and do good. Till all are one!